Sorry, I've been on mute this whole entire time. Okay, so going back a little bit, I was saying welcome to the Google Hangout Series Scholarship Program Guide. And we are going to go through the program guide that we sent out last week. So I hope some of you were able to print it out, or at least you have it in front of you. And I was going to introduce Candy and Eleazar, who are here with me. And before we do the introductions, we wanted to ask 3 questions. And so the first question is, what is your name? What do you do? And what was your favorite class during college? So I'll go first and then just model it for Candy and Eleazar. So my name is Gabby, and what I do is I am the program director here at the Dream.us. And my favorite class during college was my music appreciation course. Now you would think because it was my favorite, I got an A, but I actually got a B. Candy?
All right, and I'm Candy. Okay, also unmuting. I'm Candy, and I have the honor to be the president of the Dream.us and work with Gabby and Eleazar. And my favorite class in college was climatology. And my lesson about that class is I sort of took it on a fluke and absolutely loved it, but never actually followed up to explore what kinds of careers a person might be able to do with a climatology or meteorology course. And so, sort of a lesson learned there is when you have a class and you really love it, follow it up and see where it could take you in life.
Eleazar, and make sure to take yourself off of mute.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Eleazar Gutierrez. I recently joined the Dream.us team as an intern, so I'm very happy to be here. And I'm actually from California, but my favorite class during college was actually my sociology classes, which were tied to culture and education. So that's where I became very passionate about higher education advocacy and working with students, but always tying it down to there's a cultural relation. So that's a little bit about me.
Great.
So just mute yourself again. So we're going to start, and before we start, we just wanted to make sure to remind you of some of the scholar commitments you made. And one of those is thank you cards. So we have received many beautiful thank you notes that have been addressed to the donors and to the folks who made the Dream.us possible. And we want to remind you that there are some students that have not submitted their thank you cards, so please make sure to send it out. After this Hangout, we're going to send out an email. We're going to remind you and also put the address because, as you remember, we moved in August to new offices here in Arlington, Virginia. So remember thank you notes. The other thing that we wanted to remind you is that there's some of you that are still missing from our Facebook group, so you're missing out if you're not part of it. A lot of you who are on Facebook are having really good conversations, helping each other out, and that brings us to the next point. There's a group of students that are going to be joining us, and Candy's going to talk to you a little bit more and put you up to date of what happened during this round. And I know some of you are going to get new students on campus that we're hoping you are able to give them some guidance. And so remember, that's part of the scholar commitments, being mentors to those students. And the other thing is just a text messaging system. Most of you are on it. We're still missing some of you, so we hope that some of you join the text message system. It's free. You could also do it through email, so you don't have to do it specifically by phone, but it would be best to do it by phone so that we can remind you when we're having these Google Hangouts. So now I'm going to turn it over to who is going to start this presentation. Take it over, Candy.
All right, and I'll go back on the scholar commitment, and one of your commitments is to help mentor and coach the new scholars. So let me just tell you where we are in our application process. We closed the application on Sunday, October 26th, and we had over 1,600 applications from Dreamers to attend our colleges, and we are thrilled with the turnout. So next step will be very similar to what happened with most of you, which is scoring and ensuring eligibility of all the candidates. We'll then have a pool of finalists for our selection committee. We now have over 30 people who will be reading the essays for the applicants. They'll read those essays, they'll score them, and then from those scores, we'll select the recipients who will then be joining all of you at your colleges. And so hopefully we can work with you and your student advisors as they come on, and some will come on in the January, February timeframe. Most will start next fall. It would be wonderful if you all could find a way to host an event that would welcome them or reach out to them individually. And we'll do our best to make sure that you know who they are so you know how to reach them. So that's very exciting for us. Because you are all in really our first cohort of scholars, you are learning with us, and we learn with you. And one of the things that we learned was that you had lots of questions that we weren't doing a good job at answering, and we knew that we needed some type of a scholar guide that would answer your question. After much work, you now have that scholar guide. We tried to keep it short, and despite our best efforts, as any of you have read it, have seen, it's still 9 pages long. And I want to thank, there were at least 2 of you who actually read through it for us and gave us feedback on, does this actually answer the kinds of questions that you would have? And we got some comments, we've integrated those comments, and we'll be revising and updating this guide over time. So you are the first audience that we've been able to share it with, and we'll update it and share it with other students in the future. I'm hoping that you have a copy of the guide in front of you, and if you don't, and you have your computer and you can quickly just pull it up to the side, that would be great. We're going to have you actually look at the guide to answer a few questions as we go through this presentation, because we want you to start to get a sense for how it works. There is so much information in this guide. There's no way that you can sit down and read it once and remember everything. And rather, it really is intended as a guide. If you find that you want to transfer to another partner college, you would go pick up your guide and you would go to the section on transfer. If you have questions about why am I not receiving my renewal form, go to the guide and find out when do you get your renewal form. So our goal today is not to have you learn everything in this guide, but really begin to understand the kind of tool it is and how you might use it, as well as hit some of the high points of questions that you've had. So I'm going to jump right into the guide itself, and Gabby's going to be using a PowerPoint that we'll be switching back and forth. So when you see that first slide, it's called an introduction to the guide, and it'll appear in just a moment, but let me just make the points. The guide is to help you understand how to receive and manage your award. And there are 2 very important points about this. The dates and the procedures in this guideline will change. We're learning and evolving our program. So always, always check the Dream.us website for the most recent version of your guide so that you don't find out that you're using an old version that had the wrong dates. So that's the most important thing I can say to you today, is go to the website to get the most recent version. We're now going to skip in the guide itself. The beginning sections are all about how you accept your award, how you receive your first payment, and of course you all have traveled that journey without this guide, so for that we apologize. But what I do want to just come and talk about is a little bit about the amount of the award, because I've discovered that I'm not sure we've been completely clear on that. When you think about this scholarship award, it is definitely an award that is up to $25,000, but that is an up to. And the amount of the award is really intended to fill the gap, and it fills the gap between the cost of tuition and fees at your college and the other scholarship grants or aid that you may be receiving. Now, for many of you, that will be 0, and so it becomes very easy that the amount of the award is the amount of tuition and fees. But for students in California, students in Texas, you're eligible for state aid, and so that would reduce the amount of your award. And some of you have been quite diligent in applying for other scholarships. And so again, what we want to do is fill the gap that remains between the cost of tuition and fees and what you're receiving in other aid. So just keep that in mind as you think about this scholarship going forward. It's not a fixed amount per year. A quick note for our California scholars. For all of our scholars elsewhere in the United States, this is a scholarship that is for tuition and fees. For our California scholars, because you can get Cal Grants, and those Cal Grants generally cover most, if not all, of your tuition and fees, you will actually get a fixed amount scholarship, and you can use that to cover the gap in tuition and fees, as well as apply it toward books, supplies, and transportation. So our California scholarship's just slightly different. So now let's jump into the guide, and if you have it before you, what I would like you to do is turn it to what is page 4. And I'm just going to hold that up here, and they can't see it, can they? That's okay. We don't need to do that. So turn to page 4, and we're going to look at the section that is on renewing your scholarship award. And then Gabby will skip us to a slide that says renewing your scholarship award. Key point for all of you is this: you must renew your scholarship award every year. That does not mean that you have to reapply. You do not. You just need to renew it, and when you renew it, we have to ensure that you are actually meeting the continuing eligibility requirements. And so, for example, you have to maintain a GPA of 3.5 or 3.0, excuse me, in order to continue to be eligible for the scholarship. When you renew, you'll be submitting a copy of your transcript so that we can verify that, in fact, you are meeting that eligibility requirement. The dates will look, and the process will look something like this. So you're all set for the year. You've received your scholarship for this academic year. So already we're looking now into what will be the 2015-16 scholarship or academic year. What will happen is this summer, in on or about June 15, so again the date may not be that exact date, Scholarship America is going to send you an email. So important to be looking for your emails this summer. That email is going to have a link, and it'll be a link to a form that you'll complete online. And in that form about DACA status, have you maintained your DACA status, what's your GPA, other eligibility criteria, and you'll also in the form put in the cost of tuition and fees for your college. So that's going to require that you go to your website and look and see what is the cost of tuition and fees for 2014-15. And then you'll also be putting in any available aid for you. So whether you've got state aid, finance, or grants or scholarships, you'll be entering that. Scholarship America will then calculate the amount of your award. They'll let you know what that amount is, and then they will, once they've confirmed your enrollment, so you've actually started, you have re-enrolled to start that next semester, they'll send the payment to your college no later than August 15th. So I'm just going to pause for just a moment on this concept of renewing your scholarship and see if any of you have any questions. Can we do that, Gabby? Can they put questions to us?
So there's, and you've already started saying, people have saying, hi everyone, hello, from Jesus Cortes, Gonzalo Amaro. So you can use the same questions tool that you have on your Google Hangout for you to ask the questions. And the questions are going to be coming in as they go through. So far, no questions yet.
All right, so let's just keep rolling. There is, some of you have had questions about how long can you use this scholarship. And so we've got in your guide, there's an answer to this question that you're eligible to renew until, it's really 3 different things. 1, graduate. Obviously you can't renew it after that. 2, you exhaust the total limit. And some of you will do this. Some of you may have colleges where the tuition and fees actually exceed the $25,000. And if they do, please be thinking about that through the course of the 4 years so that you can use your scholarship dollars wisely. And then the third way that you can be unable to renew is you time out. So for associate degree candidates, you can have the scholarship for up to 3 years. For bachelor degree candidates, you can have it up for 6 years. And we've added a new scholarship this year that's called a Community College Graduate Scholarship, and they'll be able to have it for 3 years to complete their bachelor degree. So that gives you a sense of the time in which you can use the scholarship. If, in fact, it takes you 3 or 6 years, that is fine by us. it doesn't increase the amount of the scholarship. So again, you have to think really carefully about how you stage yourself. And we actually require that you now enroll on a full-time basis, and we count that as 12 credits. And the only way that you cannot enroll, or you can have an exception to that, is by an exception that you submit and get from Scholarship America, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So if you are in fact enrolling 12 credits per semester, I'll just use for example an associate degree candidate, you're 24 credits per year, it would actually take you 2.5 years to earn your associate degree, and you'd be able to use your scholarship over that time frame.
So we have some questions coming in.
All right, so now I see some questions. When will we know when other schools are accepting the scholarship, and if we could possibly transfer? I'm going to hold your question because we're going to actually come and talk about transfers. So it's a very good question, very important. Do you have to renew for this upcoming spring semester? Do not. And that might be confusing to a few of you. When we first structured the program, we were paying the award on a per semester basis. And we found that was difficult for you to manage, difficult for our partner colleges. So we now pay the scholarship on an annual basis. So when you, in that summer time frame, when you submit your renewal form and you get your award, you will get your award for the entire 2015-16 year. And you will not need to renew it at a semester base, on a semester basis.
Candy, there's somebody that was asking a question about when we know that the money has been possibly transferred to our account, so that's taken care of that.
It does, because it will be transferred, should be transferred on that August 15th date. Now, you still may have a question about it, and what you want to do then is go to your scholarship financial aid office. Sometimes they're one and the same. Find out who's administering the Dream.US scholarship. Know who that person is, and always call them if you have questions about, has my money arrived, what's happening with my money, because they're the ones that will have the visibility into that. We don't have visibility, and Scholarship America doesn't have visibility. Really good questions. And I see from Dari there's an echo. I don't know, that maybe is, anything we can do about that? I hear it slightly too. All right, we'll see if we can fix that for you. Okay, so we're now going to do a question time. And I'm going to turn it over to Eleazar, and he's going to put a question to you. And for those of you who have your guide in front of you, you're going to need to go to the guide and help us find the answer.
All right, guys. I'm going to ask a real quick question, make it a little bit more interactive, so you guys can type in the answer to the question we're asking. So our question is: look at page number 4 under section 2 in your scholarship guide, and it's titled "Renewing Your Scholarship Award." Tell us two points of criteria that you must meet in order to renew your scholarship. All right, we'll be. Now for your answers. So page number 4, under section 2, renewing your scholarship award. Tell us 2 points of criteria that you must meet in order to renew your scholarship.
I feel like we should have the Jeopardy song on now.
All right, come on.
All right, so we're waiting for those to come in.
And while we're waiting, I think I'm muted. Can you ask about whether there's still an echo?
Well, we could hear you because Eleazar's microphone is coming through. So I think what we have to do is just make sure we mute our microphones while we speak. So I think.
Any answers, guys?
Yeah, we got some.
Okay, perfect.
Let's see. Oh, no, those are just some more questions.
So once again, guys, on page number 4 of your guides, under section 2, titled "Renewing Your Scholarship Award," tells 2 points of criteria that you must meet in order to renew your scholarship.
And Damela, she said DACA or TPS approval.
Perfect.
And she also said a 3.0 GPA.
Yes. Very good. Those are 2 of the points. Thank you. So, Damela, thank you very much. Andy?
All right. And I see just a few other questions here that I can hear, and hopefully we'll hear the echo, because there are a few questions, and some of you are actually answering them for each other, so that is so fabulous. By year, does it mean every semester or until the fall of 2015? And I'm not sure where you're looking, but it is the fall of 2015 where you would receive your annual scholarship award, and that award would then last you throughout the year. And then I saw a question about will your yearly amount increase if you move from community college to university? And the answer is yes. It will be recalculated if you move to new college, because you are correct, generally fees are higher. Just remember that in total you have 25,000. So really important that you're using it wisely.
This
doesn't have a microphone. Okay.
1 second. We want to make sure that you guys can understand what we're saying.
That was what was creating it. Okay, so now let's see. Is there still an echo? No.
Good.
Okay. All right. And then I'll see one other question. Once we register for classes next semester, by when does the scholarship submit the payment for the classes? And once again, the school will have the money, and they will then apply it toward your classes. And you will need to contact your scholarship administrator so that you can find out when that payment transfer will be made. We won't know that, and Scholarship America won't know that. So I'm sort of what I'm encouraging all of you to do is find out who administers the Scholarship America Award, or excuse me, well, the Dream.US Award, and make sure that they become a very good friend. Okay, I'm now going to move us forward, and I'm not seeing any continuing comments about the echo, but if it's there, let us know. So let's turn then to page 5 of the guide. And we're going to talk about applying the payment, which is where a few of your questions have been addressed. The payment is, as I mentioned earlier, for tuition and fees. And it is for tuition and fees that are incurred after you accepted and enroll in the partner college. So some of you were taking a few classes before you received the scholarship, and we've had some questions, could we take the scholarship and pay back for those classes that we took before? And the answer is no. It's only for classes that you take after you've accepted and enrolled in the partner college. Then in terms of tuition fees and what counts and what doesn't count, you can use the scholarship against any credited courses. And what that is not included in a credited course are developmental or remedial classes for which you are not receiving any scholarship aid. And there's a slide on this, Gabby, if you want to put it up for them. And so that's one. You can't use it for courses that you're retaking because you failed an earlier course. And you can't use it for additional required courses due to a change in your degree. So if you find midway through, and you certainly are free to change your degree, but if a change in your degree suddenly now requires that you're going to have to take 12, 24 additional credits, you can't use the scholarship towards those credits. We had a question about a summer term. You may use the scholarship for tuition and fees for summer term. If you have money that's sitting in your account, that money can simply be applied toward that summer tuition and fees. If not, what you need to do is email Scholarship America, send them a copy of the invoice, and then they'll process a special payment for your summer tuition and fees. And then finally, in terms of payment, some of you received a stipend. And if you did, your award letter will tell you whether or not you did. If you did receive a stipend, it's only available to cover academic expenses for books, supplies, and transportation. And you need to keep the receipts so that if you were ever asked to verify that you used the stipend for valid purposes, you'd have the receipts to show that. So let me look here. It seems like this is another good spot for me to pause and just see what questions we've got that we haven't answered and what other new questions you have coming in. And let's see, Gabby, there's lots of them here. I don't know if you're helping track. I see some, I'm going to answer some of these very specific questions. There's right that there has been a merger between UT, PA, and Brownsville. And so yes, when you say, does the scholarship extend to UTB, well, really what we should say is you may use the scholarship at now the Rio Grande Valley UT. So that is new for us. We will have to have some time, and I'm not sure if that is effective now. I think that's effective next year. We'll need to get in place student advisors. There's a question here about whether Broward College now has its advisor, and I'm looking at Gabby to see if in fact they do.
So we have received the names, and we're working on the scholar directory. If you remember, we sent those out, and so we'll be sending that out by December, and you'll be able to see there the names of the advisors and the people that you need to contact at each of your colleges.
Okay, and then I see here a question about is the stipend available to ASU online students? It is, and let me just give you a little bit of background on the stipend. The stipend is not available to online colleges if their fees already include the costs of books. That's the real purpose of the stipend, actually, is to cover books, but sometimes students will have a little extra money, and then you can use it for things like supplies or transportation. So we won't have those students attending online schools where the fee includes the books don't receive the stipend. The ASU fee does not include books, and so those students will get a stipend. The other students that did not get a stipend are the California students, and that's because we've already built that into your award. So that's going to be fine. I see here someone said when I use my stipend, good thing I did. I just lost what the comment was. Good thing I did, though? Yeah, I think is what it said. Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, so that's great. Now let me kind of go down. The questions I'm realizing are coming here in on the top. When is your GPA looked at? Your GPA is looked at the end of the academic year. So at the end of the spring semester, and it's really, you'll be submitting your transcript for the end of that academic year as part of your renewal, and that's when we'll look at your GPA. Question regarding how to change student advisors. For some reason you don't feel comfortable with the one you have right now. You know, that might be a situation where you might have a conversation with Gabby so better understand that. We've just asked each of our colleges to designate one student advisor to work with our cohort of students. At Miami-Dade, I know there's a number of them, but maybe we can just, if you can give us a little bit of feedback, we can better understand maybe what's not comfortable with that situation. All right. Let's see, if a student doesn't have enough money for the summer classes, can they still email the scholarship program? Yes, I think I covered that question. Any others I've missed, Gabby or Elazar? The transfer question because I see a number of questions about transferring. So as you all know, we continue to build the number of partner colleges that we have, or expand the number of partner colleges that we have. And we will be bringing on a good number of colleges, certainly for our new scholars. Some will be starting in January, February, some will be starting next fall. Some of you have expressed an interest in transferring to those new partner colleges. And you are able to do that. There are 2 times of the year that you can do that, and there are some criteria. And again, what I would tell you to do is turn to page 7, because we've outlined in quite a bit of detail what it is you need to do in order to transfer to a partner college. So the first is you have to have applied to and been accepted to that college. So before we're even going to think about from an administrative standpoint, transitioning the scholarship, you need to have been accepted there. And the second is, in order to be eligible to transfer to another college, you have to continue to meet all of the eligibility criteria. So for example, if you're below a 3.0, you would not be able to transfer to a new college. The steps are detailed in our guide. On the slide that you have in front of you, this outlines the 2 different times that you can do it. So one, and the most obvious time, is that transferring at the end of an academic year. And if you do that, then you need to you'll get your renewal form. As a part of that renewal process, you would be letting Scholarship America know that you're going to be transferring to a new college. And there would be some steps that you would need to take. The other time that you can transfer to another partner college is at the end of a midterm. So say you've just ended your first semester, or some of you are on a trimester basis, or a quarter basis, I guess you call it. You've ended a quarter term. Then you could do this by letting Scholarship America know 30 days prior to that next term. So whether it's the winter or spring term that you'd be entering, because they have to have sufficient advance notice, confirm that you've been accepted, to calculate the new award amount, and then of course to send those funds to the partner college. So now, questions that we have about transfers. Have I answered the questions that came forth before?
Yeah, now we just have those 2 about the last one. Will our yearly amount increase if we move from a community college to a university because their fees are higher?
Yes, and I think I answered that one earlier, and the answer is yes, because university fees generally are higher.
Though I think it's really important to note that the amount of the scholarship does not change in total.
That's right. Okay, you always have, for associate degrees, that $12,500 limit, and for bachelor candidates, the $25,000 limit. Okay, question here. I'll answer just one more, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Eleazar for question time. A question about, for the upcoming semester, will we still have to renew our DACA out-of-state tuition waiver correct? And I'm going to let Gabby answer that once so that we make sure we get the right answer.
So every college has a different rule for in-state tuition. And it's really important that you're working with your student financial aid office to see what you have to do. At Miami-Dade College, there is a waiver, and that waiver has to be renewed. However, they have told us that the process is so much easier from the first time you did it. So to renew your waiver right now for your spring semester, if you're a Miami-Dade College. Other systems, they're different. In Texas, you won't have to do that. In California, you won't have to do that. In New York. So states that have in-state tuition, you won't. But states like Florida that have a waiver, you have to show that you still have DACA and that you're DACA eligible.
Okay, and then we have a very specific question from one student about, it said an email from our office, but probably that would be from Scholarship America, saying they don't have a record of you as an MDC student. And we'll just take that one offline and we'll follow up with you after this. All right, so Eleazar, you're going to put another question to the group.
Of course. All right, guys. So it's question time once again. go ahead and look at page number 7 under section 2 of your scholarship program guide titled Steps for Transferring. And if you guys can please type in the answer to this question. If you are transferring to another partner college at the end of the academic year, what are 2 documents or 2 forms of documents that you need to send Scholarship America in order to complete the scholarship for your transfer? So we'll go ahead and wait for some of your answers. So what are 2 forms of documents that you guys would have to send Scholarship America? Page number 7, section 2. We have some answers here.
No
answers?
Who wants to transfer?
Okay, Demilla, we are definitely going to have to send you a Starbucks coffee card because you are so fabulous to offer your answers. So, letter of acceptance is 1, that is right.
Yes, thank you.
Any others? Brave souls?
No, we could hear you.
Demilla, a letter of acceptance, that's correct, like Candy mentioned.
And we have Ana Arias, college transcripts.
Correct. All right, thank you, ladies.
Good.
I'll pass it out over to Candy.
All right, 2 Starbucks coffee cards coming your way. So now let's see, there's a question that I saw below and I'm going to come back to. Someone had asked, will there be partner colleges from Georgia in the future? Well, and so let me answer that. We would love to have partner colleges in Georgia. There are a number of Dreamers there. The difficulty, of course, is that Dreamer Georgia is 1, has out-of-state tuition, and 2, in its public institutions, if I'm correct, Gabby, on this, don't even admit Dreamers. We are in some very early conversations with private colleges in Georgia to find out whether or not they would be willing to step up and help reduce the amount of their tuition to get it down to the $25,000 level so that with their tuition discount and our scholarship, you would be able to afford tuition and fees. And I can't make any promises on that, but I just want you to know that both Georgia and North Carolina, we are so aware of the need to have some options in those states. Someone had an example, FIU is $3,000, will that be given every semester until we max out our $25,000? And assuming that that amount is right, and I don't know the FIU tuition off the top of my head, what a student would actually get is $6,000 in its annual payment, and then the school will apply $3,000 for the first semester, $3,000 for the second semester, and yes, that is correct, you would get it until it is actually maxed out. And then let's see, we had a question. And Gabby, this is a good question for you. In the wake of the recent elections, since the Republicans have taken over the Senate, what's going to be the impact on DACA?
So that's something that I think it's really important that we're all aware of. And here at the Dream.us, we have started having discussions about what we are going to do, not only if they take out DACA, but in states like Texas, we were having a discussion about in-state tuition and what would happen if in-state tuition were to go away in Texas. And one of the things that I want to tell you now, not so much as the Dream.us, but as Gabby, a dreamer, and also an advocate, to be engaged and to know what is happening. And all of you are examples of why DACA is important. DACA has given you a chance to, the majority of you, get driver's licenses, get social security numbers, and get the opportunity to go to college. And so telling your story and writing to politicians about the opportunity of going to college, the contributions you're making to your community, to your families, to the country, it's going to be really important to hear. And so you guys are going to be setting the precedent for a lot of young people across the country that want to be able to have the opportunity to go to college and have been able to because of DACA. So that's really important to do. And for us here at the Dream.us, we want to make sure that we're able to continue to provide the scholarships. So we're going to have conversations with our board of directors. We have a meeting coming up at the end of the year. We'll keep you in the loop and just keep telling your story, be engaged, be involved.
Okay, good. And then I saw that we had one other question from Daria about, does a student have to have an associate degree before transferring to a university? And the answer is no. You can take our scholarship as long as you're transferring to a partner college, obviously. Just a cautionary note I would give you is we have found that colleges don't always accept all of the credits that a student earns at a community college. So one of the things you'll want to do, to you who are in the community colleges, before you transfer to the four-year university, is ensure that the credits that you've earned are in fact going to be transferring. For many of our partner colleges, we actually have strong partnerships, Long Beach, CSU, Long Beach, Cal State, and Long Beach City College being an example. They have a very strong partnership between them, and so often the credits will transfer, but just something to keep in mind as you think about transferring to another college. When I see an example of Shorter College as a private college in Georgia, maybe they could be a part of the scholarship. All right, we'll add that to our list. Thank you. Other questions coming in? All right, then let's continue on. And now we'll talk about, if you'll turn to page 8 of your guide, we'll talk about the special circumstances. So there are 3 criteria where we have had students ask questions about whether or not exceptions are available. And they are for this. 1, we require that you maintain a GPA of 3.0. We require that you enroll full-time on a full-time status, which we count as 12 credits. And then 3, we require that you have continuous enrollment, so that you don't skip out or defer any one semester. And the full-time or continuous enrollment, by the way, does not include the summer, although you certainly are more than able to enroll in the summer. There are times when you can get an exception to any of those 3, but you must get the exception before the academic term. And so let me describe here what those are. If you find, and here's an example, you're getting to renew in July and you are not at the 3.0, what we want you to do as a part of your renewal process, you would submit to Scholarship America an academic plan that you and your student advisor have prepared for how you're going to try to get on track for that 3.0. And if it looks like it is a sincere and solid academic plan, Scholarship America will go ahead and renew your scholarship. The second, if for some reason you're not able to enroll in a full-time status, and we have had, I think there have been 2 of these so far, where we have someone, generally it's been the situation where they are married and have their own children they're trying to raise, and they need to be working 2 jobs and caring for their children. That's an extenuating circumstance where we would consider a part-time enrollment. And then third, there can be circumstances where you would need to defer for 1 semester. And that's going to be a pretty high bar, but I can already give you an example example of one that we approved, and that was one of our students was having a baby this last semester, and it's a little hard to have a baby and go to college at the same time. So we let her defer one semester. And by the way, in considering that, we looked at her academic record, absolutely strong, very devoted, been performing really well in her classes, and it's a committed person, and we certainly want to honor that life circumstance of becoming a mother. And she, by the way, now has her little baby, and Gabby's seen some photos. There could also be a medical reason. So if there's an illness or a disability that interrupts progress, that is another reason when you could seek some kind of exception for the program. So I'll pause here. I see a few questions coming in. What if I work 40 hours a week and I'm a sole provider of my family? Could I attend college part-time? And what I would say is definitely submit, if you need and feel the need to do this, submit a request to Scholarship America, and they will look at that request. I will considering these requests. We're going to look at your academic record. Have you been really working hard in your colleges? It may be how you're doing in your classes. It may be that Scholarship America would even have a conversation with your student advisor. But if you really feel that that's going to make it impossible for you to succeed, at the end of the day, that's what we're about, is all of you succeeding and getting your degrees. So by all means, then apply for the exception.
And I just want to say that we are taking notes. So if you see that your question goes away, we are taking notes. And I know, Ine, you said that the person that sent you an email was Erin, so we'll follow up with you after.
Oh, good. Thank you for
Also, just in case, you can email us anytime. So you have our contact information, our email. You can contact us. Well, through Facebook, be careful because sometimes I do not check, and I've seen that some of you have sent me messages through Facebook. It's best to send me emails, but if you have any questions or problems, just come to us.
Okay, and I will just add on to that. That said, and Gabby's absolutely right, we want to get the right questions to the right person. So generally, if there are questions about the administration of your scholarship, they should go to Erin Strand. If there are questions about what the college has done with your scholarship, so has it been applied, is the money still there, those questions should go directly to your scholarship administrator because none of us will have visibility into that. And then questions that you have, for example, questions about I may not be comfortable with my student advisor, or you want to just brainstorm whether or not you should apply for an exception. Those are the kinds of questions that we definitely are here to help you with. And I see a question here about where do you get the application for an exception? And there is no application, but if you'll look at the guide on page 8, it tells you very specifically what it is you would need to submit in order to request the exception. And we let you do it by email. And, you know, as you ask that question, it makes me think, well, maybe it would be easier for you if we did have a form. And so we should add that to our to-do list as something to think about. It's a good question. Thank you for asking it. And Ricardo's asking a question about having been placed in the wrong class, you received a full refund for that class and enrolled in the proper one. So that should be fine because the scholarship, that should not impact your scholarship. And there's a question, withdraw affect my GPA?
So withdrawing from a class. Usually
oh,
It usually does.
Oh, so that's good to know then. Part of that depends on when you withdraw, right?
Yeah.
Almost all colleges have a time by which you can withdraw and you don't owe any fees and it won't have an impact on your GPA. And then a later time when you can still withdraw or drop the class, but you won't get a refund and it may impact your GPA. All right, let me just look and see. Thank you all for hanging with us. I know this is a tremendous amount of detail. I've got one final slide. It's called the legal stuff. You will find it on page 8 at the very bottom. And I'll just say it quickly. You don't even need so much to look at it. Your scholarship can be terminated at the sole discretion of Scholarship America if you're not meeting the program requirements, not making academic progress, if you withdraw for reasons that aren't approved, or if a partner college comes and requests that we terminate the scholarship because, or if you're actually withdrawing from the school at the request of the partner college is what that means. So just be aware of that. I'm confident that will not be an issue with a single one of you. And then also revisions to the scholarship program. The terms and conditions of the program likely will change over time as we learn more. So for example, those that were in our pilot program, you didn't originally have a stipend, and then we realized the importance of a stipend and we added that. So you'll see some modifications over time. The program could be terminated if ever, for example, we had a lack of funding, but I will tell you the good news is that right now the fundraising has been quite strong, and many of you have let us use your thank you letters, by the way, in our fundraising. Some of you have attended some of our fundraising functions, which has been incredibly powerful. And we are sitting right now at easily 34, and we have in the works grants that have been committed, but we don't have the grant agreements in place just yet, that will have us at 40 million. And our ultimate goal was 50. So the fundraising has just been really strong, and in large part it gets stronger as we go because we tell them about all of you and the great work that you're doing. So I'm going to turn it back over to Gabby.
And I want to say that you don't have to just sit around. If people ask you and say, hey, how do you get this scholarship? Or I want to help you and I want to help other dreamers like you, you can surely send them to our website. We have a donate button there. And so we are hoping that all of you also, throughout your progress of college, help us get the word out, so maybe perhaps other people who might want to donate. We take from $10 to $1,000 to $1 million. So if you know any friends out there that have $1 million and want to give to our scholarship, please send them our way.
Should I come back and answer just a couple of those final questions? Will withdrawing from a class impact my scholarship? No, other than in the way that it might impact your GPA or if you've already paid for the class. And then there was one other question.
And make sure that you know, once you take that class again, unfortunately, we don't pay for that.
Yes. And there was another question that was there, and if you're getting all A's and then you're in danger of failing. Well, if you're getting all A's, failing one class, you may still be able to have a 3.0. So you wouldn't lose your scholarship. And certainly that's a perfect example where if you did fall below 3.0, you would submit an academic plan to say, here's what impacted my grade. I had one class that I failed. And if you have to if you fail it and you have to retake it again, then it's true that you'll have to pay for that class. And I think we've answered, have we, Gabby, all the questions that have... Okay. There's one person that said, where is the guide that you're referring to? Is it now on our website, Gabby?
It's not on there yet. What we're trying to do is build a back end to the website so that with the code you can go to the special site and get all this information. But this guide was sent out to every single one of you. We send it out through email. We can also upload it to Facebook so you could have it. So there's another perk on being on the Facebook page. On the private Facebook page, I just want to note that only students, Candy, Eleazar, and myself are on this page. So no advisors are there, and this is your space for you guys to talk to one another and help each other out. So we'll put it there, but we'll also let you know as soon as we build in the back end of the website where we're going to upload it. But all of you should have it. If you don't have it, then we might have your wrong email information. So please make sure to let Erin know your correct email.
Okay, and two more questions that came in about the GPA. One is, I've been using tutoring and struggling with the 3.0. That's a perfect example of a time when you should work with your advisor to submit a academic plan. And that's exactly what we'd want to see in an academic plan, is that you're working with an advisor, you're taking work study classes, that you're just working diligently to really try to achieve that 3.0. That's just great. There was a question about taking a remedial class. Does it affect my GPA? It should only affect your GPA if you're earning credits that are counting toward your degree. Otherwise, it should not impact your GPA.
And thank you so much for all of you for helping us get the word out. As Candy said at the beginning, we received over 1,600 applications.
Okay. And just in closing, as I said, there's no way you could even begin to grasp everything we've talked about in this session or the detail. And so the guide really is a guide. And when you have a question, before you go to Facebook, before you reach out to a colleague, go look at the guide and read through that section to see if it answers your question. And if it does not, then by all means, reach out to all of us.
And I saw there that somebody's asking for Eleazar's email. Eleazar?
Yes. So my email, and I think Gabby is about to write it down right now. On a PowerPoint slide. My email is Eleazar, and I'll spell Eleazar for you, which is it's on the screen. Oh, it's on the right there. ELEAZAR at ghco.com.
So say it one more time for us.
So my name, which is on the bottom, which is ELEAZAR at ghco.com. And feel free to email me for any questions. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find the answer for you. So we're working together, and I'm very happy to join the team.
All right, so it's 2 minutes before 6, and we said we will keep you only until 6. So that was going to be all. We're going to send you an email with a recap of what we talked about. Please let other students on campus know that they missed this. If they missed this Google Hangout, to make sure to watch it. And it's a pleasure to help all of you, to serve you, and to be part of the Dream.us. So thank you so much for participating. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.